Hello everyone, welcome to my session, macOS Automation, Hidden Gem, and your next superpower. But first let me introduce myself. My name is Miłosz Staszewski. On a day-to-day basis I work at K7. We are part of a global network, Apple Consultants Network. For many years we have been operating Apple authorized training providers in the region, in Poland, in Czechia, in Slovakia, so I'm also Apple certified trainer for technical courses, and I'm usually required to say that this is my personal session here. What I will do or say or present or show or anything at all here, it's by Miłosz, not by K7 or by Apple or anything like this, right? So this is only my personal thing here. Okay, so I have found out that Mobile Warsaw, you are all here probably developers, mobile developers. Who is using Apple platforms here? Okay. Who is using Mac specifically? Okay. Who has been using Mac for longer than 10 years? Okay. Who has been using open scripting architecture on the Mac? Okay. Who has been using AppleScript on the Mac? So folks, if you have been using AppleScript, then you have been using open scripting architecture, because this is one of the languages that supports it. And this will be, well, the main topic of my session here. During the previous talk, we had Xcode Cloud. We had, the new and shiny stuff. And now we will be talking about the old and cranky stuff. We'll be talking about open scripting architecture, because many people do not see it somehow. They do not know what to do with it, what's the power of it. And this is my personal journey, to bring it to your attention, because it has always been like this with the Mac. By the way, you may notice that I'm trying to move at the moment, because this is how I work. When I move, I think more clearly, right? And I need to warn you about two things. I have this not so great character, I tend to offend people or make them laugh. But making you laugh is harder, so the default is offending you, so please don't mind. This is how I work. Steve Jobs asked once, it was like 70s or 80s, probably 70s, it was still before the Mac, it was Apple II years. He was once asked, if I recall correctly, it was the Playboy interview. So when people are reading Playboy magazines, they are probably at some party or something like this. It should be chilled out. And it was 1970s. And then interviewer asked Jobs, Steve, what are computers for? What people will be using them for? And get the context. It's 1970s. They have these cranky Apple IIs, things like these 8-bit computers connected to the TV set. So Jobs needed to find some good analogy to make people see the future, right? And he said the story that, you have some nice animal. I can't remember the exact animal he used. Let's say it was... Apple. No, animal. Living creature. Who usually runs faster than people? Give me some idea. But maybe a dog, but not by too much, right? So Jobs came with this analogy that, look at the dogs, right? Usually they run faster than people, and they use less energy than human beings when they try to be fast. But put a human being on a bicycle, and these human beings will be both faster and more energy efficient. And what computers will be? Computers will be like the bicycle for the mind. And this is the general idea behind the Mac platform. And it has been like this for all those years. So this is the first way in which people describe Mac computers. Bicycle for the mind. The second way we describe Mac is the computer for the rest of us. I told you I'm offending people, not for the developers and techies only, not for you and me, for the general public, so that they can feel empowered, right? That they can do stuff. You have heard the story for the creative types, right? For the pirates, for those who want to move the boundaries. This is the Mac platform. And you know, there is one person, well, in the world, not at Apple anymore, covering the potential logo, maybe unfortunately, who once wrote something like this. And finally, to the Apple engineers and staff whose vision and dedication to AppleScript have been such a benefit to me and thousands of others. I thank them for their work and their unwavering belief that the power of the computer should rest in the hands of those that use it, to have the power to make the computer do what you want. And keep in mind, for the rest of us, not only for the techies here, sorry, told you, right? So, this is the general idea behind the Mac platform for all those years. Do you know who said it? One of Apple's famous managers.
Correct.
No, before Sal. Yeah, exactly. You have probably seen this session already, right? So, this is the author of these words. This is Sal Sogoyan, for almost 30 years, Apple automation manager. He was responsible for making our computers make what we want, like we, the general public. And as you can see, he's usually like identified with AppleScript technology and all of the automation stuff. We may get into the discussion what he's doing right now after he left Apple a few years ago. So, this is the persona that made me use Macs for all those years, and the technology that he helped to push inside Apple. And you know, you need to know something about me. I have never ever used Windows. I'm this very old guy. I've been using Amiga computers. I don't know if you recall them. You know, Commodore manufactured them. Those idiots, by the way, they destroyed such a great platform, right? Then, after Amiga crumbled, in like 2002, I have been using this for a very long time. If you remember Amiga's 500, and this is something that comes to your mind when you think about Amiga, it was not Amiga I was using. My last Amiga computer had like gigahertz CPU, 80 Radeon cards, gigabytes of RAM. I was using such Amiga computer, but the platform crumbled, right? So I spent a few years on Linux, and you know, sorry, I told you I'm offending people, right? Some describe Linux as others describe ex-partners. Yes, I've been there. I has all this experience, but I could spend this time in different way. So I think about Linux like this. And as many of you know, there is this, these days, losing its bright, quite well-known website called Stack Overflow. And once one of my students, because I'm also teaching at the university, showed me this question. What are the alternatives to AppleScript in Linux? How are they different? And you get all these Linuxy type answers, you know, yeah, depending on the kind of the situation you are in, then you should use this technology, on other circumstances use this one, and so on and so on. But you know what? There is one clear right answer here. And this is at the bottom. They are not alternatives. There is no alternative for automation on Apple platforms. So, we will be going into this because I would like to have my session divided into 3 parts. First one, you know, my offending part. The second, the worst idea ever, like usually live demos. And then we may have some Q&A, okay? So, we will be going through some demos that will show you what to use and how to use it. And keep in mind, we'll be coming from this perspective of a general public type user. So, you as developers will be able to use these tools in a much more sophisticated ways. And this is something I encourage you to do so, to deep dive into these topics and to use it to your advantage. But I will be showing you how the general Joe Schmo can be using their Mac computer to do amazing stuff that's usually outside their reach. So we'll be using some GUI stuff like Automator. Have you ever used Automator on your Mac? So a few people, right? And it has been a part of macOS 10 since Tiger, so since 2004, almost two decades, right? We will be naturally using Script Editor. Have you been using this one? A few notes, I see, yeah. A part of macOS 10 since its inception. It has been with us since original macOS, the classical macOS. You know this, the one that was crashing all the time, you know. So we will be also mentioning Xcode in the context of automation techniques. We will be mentioning some third-party tools, like the late-night software's great script debugger, and showing you some capabilities of it. We'll be mentioning UI browser and some caveats and things that go against the whole automation spirit in recent years. We may go into discussion why, you know, the usual answer, security, right? So we will be showing you what is like changed when you automate things and what you need to manage and keep in mind. So all these alerts, right, that you are trying to take over the control of some other process, that you are trying to affect your users' privacy and security settings when it comes to, naturally, automation, but also accessibility or data access, right? And naturally, developer tools. Okay, we will be mentioning some additional stuff, like, for example, remote scripting, because you may be orchestrating different Mac computers being physically placed all over the planet with your own scripts. So we'll be mentioning these two, like remote scripting. And this is the end of my offending part. Now let's go to the worst idea ever, so live demos, right? Demo gods, please be with me today. Okay. So let's start with the story, and let's start with those very, very simple things. You know, I'm the lazy person. You probably already somehow managed to get the idea, right? So I need some demo pics. So where can I get them? Naturally, I have this nice presentation here, right? So, let's remove this one. So let's create some images for our demo. We will export these slides to images. Okay. It will take a few seconds and we will start our journey. First of all, let's say I have been asked by my friend, because all of the scripts you will see here came from the real world asks from my friends and colleagues and students and so on. And as you will see, the answer to all of these queries, the answers were really simple, and the person knowing the stack, the macOS software stack, could really address them like in a few minutes or seconds or 2 quarters, half an hour, something like this, quite easily, right? And when these folks who asked these things from me, so how easy it is to do it, they felt empowered, like in the slides. So this is the general theme of the demo. So the first story is that my friend Zdzisław came to me. He's a photographer, and he was switching platforms all the time, switching from Mac to Windows and so on and so on and so on. He lives in Photoshop and Lightroom. He came to me that he got this job that he makes like thousands of photos per week of products for Allegro platform. And he would like to have some solution to put the watermarks in them. And now I know, I didn't know back then, you know, I need help whenever I need to use Photoshop. before my students told me that you need to hold down the shift key to draw the straight line, the exactly straight line, you know, I was using macOS accessibility features to use mouse with the keyboard because this was very exactly straight line back then. Because, you know, I know macOS, I don't know any other stuff, so now I know that Photoshop has this built right in. But I didn't know that, and Zdzisław didn't know either, right? So, we started with this story that he had all these pictures, like thousands of pictures, and he needed to put the watermark. So, let's launch Automator, and maybe let's start the story as you would see it. First of all, you probably know this. I'm looking for Automator on my device, on my Mac. Whenever it starts, it offers you all these choices. Hey, what do you want to create today? And developers look, application, application, they can even build apps, right? So, we won't be going into this. These are these simple apps. We will be creating a workflow. A workflow is a set of actions that do some things. And as you can see here, we have these 3 or maybe even 4 parts of the screen of the window visible right now. First of all, this is this naive story that you are looking into actions that will be, you know, using your calendar or your contacts or your email messages and so on and so on. Remember the general Joe Schmo approach, right? Then, whenever you choose the category, you have the concrete actions. If you do not know what a given action does, you can read the description here, right? But what is really nice about the Mac, and you may be knowing this already, is that you are not only limited to the stuff that Apple provides you with out of the box. Whenever you install a nicely written app for the Mac, so after this session, be the nice guys, create this type of apps, right, yourselves. So, whenever you install some third-party app, and it doesn't matter where do you get it from, whether it's from the App Store, the way you should be getting apps these days, right, fully secure, and so on, right, or if you install it from any outside source, you can see that these third-party apps give you these additional capabilities, these additional actions. So you may be already noticing that, for example, Apple Configurator gives you these actions. But you know, Apple Configurator coming from Apple, right? But whenever you install well-prepared third-party apps, you get these actions too. Like, for example, whenever I install Pixelmator, I get these actions from Pixelmator, and so on and so on. As you can see, I have probably a few third-party apps available here on my Mac. Let me see whether I really have. Yeah, for example, here, Transmit from Panic, right? So some third-party apps are visible in here. So we will be creating, sorry, this was the function I was using for Photoshop, mouse keys, right? So let's disable it. Come on, okay. Working again. Okay, so we will be looking for something that would be asking for files or finder items, right? So yeah, we will be asking for finder items. We will be allowing it to use multiple selections, so I can read multiple files at once. We will be then, as you can see, I'm trying to get faster and faster because I'm looking at the clock at the moment. I don't want to make it too long. So let's do this one, get specified finder items maybe, and or maybe not even this. And let's say we will be looking for watermark. And watermark is not here. Let's do it like this. By the way, we try to be nice. We try to warn you. Whenever you will be affecting stuff, we will ask you, hey, do you want to keep a copy? Because you will affect it and there will be no undo, right? If you destroy your photos, they will be destroyed if you do not have backups. And most people don't, right? Unfortunately. So we won't be adding this. And we should use some watermark image. The company I work for is quite well known in Poland for the app called Faktura. This is probably still the most popular invoicing Mac app in the country. So since we have copyright for this material, I will be using its icon as my watermark graphic. You probably know this trick that I can copy it and paste it, and now it's a regular graphics file, right? I will be trying to put it right here, and let's try to run it. Let's try to run it. Okay, so I have my files here. They are here. Some slides. As you can see, no Faktura logo yet, right? So let's choose all of them and see whether it will work. As you can see, progress bar here. Done. I on purpose disabled the sound. Usually there's also this ding, done, right? So let's see whether it worked. Let's close this one, open this one. These were our photos. As you can see, we have the watermark. So GSWAF was already taken care of, right? Now the more sophisticated stuff came around. If you are living in Poland, you probably know that we are in this middle ground with this country. We are one of the more sophisticated countries when it comes to availability of digital services in Poland, like digital services when you interact with public offices. We sometimes underappreciate this, I believe. But trust me, go around Europe, go around the world and see how many different countries to which we very often look up to, that these are, they are more developed and so on, and try to do something digitally there. Someone during the break mentioned that he or she was using the card outside Poland, like, payment, digital payment. You know that it's not really that popular in some areas of the continent, right? So, why am I mentioning this? You know the story about Poles? There was we are now after the election, when the current government, the newly elected government was ruling the country last time. So the civic platform, when was having the government, we were the country that was running the EU for half a year. We had this presidency of the EU, right? And the government wanted to introduce Poland to the larger global public, this rising country in the east of the EU, Poland. And they ran all these commercials in the States and all around the country called Poland Come and Complain. Have you seen them? There was this video interviews with Poles asking them about their country and showing the statistics that Poland is quite great when it comes to this and that, and ask Poles what do they think about the country's placement in the ranking in the world. It doesn't work, no, we don't have it, we really don't have it, right? No. The name of this campaign was Poland Come and Complain. And whenever I'm thinking about Poland Come and Complain is when we talk about the Polish post office. Do you like the Polish post office? Everyone's complaining, right? Everyone's complaining all the time. But do you know that Poczta Polska, Polish post office, has the digital services available for 10 years already? So many times you do not need to go to there and wait in the queue. You don't need to. Trust me, you don't need to. You can do all of this remotely, even if you want to send physical letters or packages. You can send them remotely. Look what I'm saying. I'm not mentioning digitally. I'm saying remotely. Because these days, I believe Poczta Polska, Polish post office, offers a service that you can scan your letter and they will print it out and send it for you physically. And it's cheating. It's like for 5 years already or something like this. But it's cheating. I want to be doing this stuff remotely. Like I will print it because, I'm this Apple person. I like the details. I will print it nicely on the great piece of paper. I want to have the control, also Apple feature control, right? So I want to send this remotely. And Poczta Polska has the answer for me for like 5 or 7 years. It's called Neostamp, Neoznaczek. Have you been using Neoznaczek? Come on, Poland, come and complain. It's for 7 years already. So let me introduce you to Neoznaczek, okay? By the way, this is how it looks. This is how it looks, folks. You buy these stamps. You buy this. As you can see, I bought like 100 of them. And they are quite old already. So if you copy them, because it's recording, you won't be sending my stamps. They are already expired, right? Buy your own. But you already know that the service is there, and it has been there at least since 2020. You have the proof, right? So how does it work? You go to Poczta Polska website, you buy it, you print it on the envelope, and you send it remotely. And by the way, this was the greatest act of trolling since ACTA protests in Poland. Because you probably, I will be offending. Maybe let's not record this part. You know, during the previous government, when they ruled the country, they were having this fight with Wielka Orkiestra Świątecznej Pomocy. You know, there was this fight between these tensions between the government ruling party and with Wielka Orkiestra Świątecznej Pomocy. So, for the first time ever, Polish Post Office didn't support officially WOŚP, Wielka Orkiestra Świątecznej Pomocy. I don't know the English translation, please excuse me. Because traditionally, Poczta Polska was a part of this, you know, great grande finale. Poczta Polska was allowing people to create stamps and send stamps with WOŚP logo, right? So whenever the government, the previous government, didn't want to participate in this and asked kindly Poczta Polska not to participate, all the people around bought these Neo stamps and put the WOŚP logo here because you can use your own. And Poczta Polska was supporting WOŚP anyway because we wanted them to, right? We created this stamp, so you can do it on your own. You can send the message, you know, in this way too. So let's see how it works. I told you that we are these Faktura creators, the invoicing app creators. I will show you Faktura with some demo data. This is the app. Pretty simple invoicing app, native app for the Mac. And this is how the usual document window and the printout look like, right? So since we are this very little team of Apple aficionados, we naturally have bandwidth problems all the time, no time for anything, and we need to automate to simply survive. So, I didn't tell it to you, we are also Apple reseller. So yeah, sometimes we even ship Apple hardware, you know, because we are part of ACN and every ACN member can resell stuff. So by the way, join the ACN, but let's leave it for Q&A, okay? We sometimes need to send stuff, physical stuff, or physical letters, or physical invoices. God forbid. We are switching to digital invoices in not June, probably June next year. You probably heard KSF, Krajowy System Elektronicznych Faktur. We are done with paper, but still today we could be still in a need to create a paper invoice and send it. So we need to create a system that would do two things, even three, but I will show you only two of these. We will automatically invoice our customer based on the type of purchase they do, right? So Faktura for help, right? And whenever we have this record in Faktura already, we need to print the invoice labeling with the correct Neo stamp. Because you already know that Poczta Polska offers you this remote solution for many years, right? So, how the story looks. First of all, I'm purchasing this PDF file from them. And as you probably know, Mac, the great platform, I could be doing something like this. I could be doing something like this. I could be dragging this here and dragging another one and so on, like an animal, right? But I can naturally also automate it. You probably already knew that I was going to automate it. So this is pretty simple stuff. Let's start again with Automator. By the way, when I will be out of time and you want to leave, let me know to finish, okay? Because I have a few demos, you know. Okay, so let's ask for Finder items. You already have seen this part. So we will be getting this Neo stamp. Now a superpower in reverse. You probably know that at every moment, in each and every moment on our platforms, you can print everything you see on the screen to the PDF. PDF originally has been a part of Apple's rendering engine beneath, like it was called Quartz. Now it has been replaced with Metal, but the capabilities are still in place, right? So we will be using the reverse superpower. We will be rendering PDF pages as images, and we will be changing them to PDF. So we will be essentially just taking out single page by page, each one at once. We will use 300 DPIs because we are, you know, looking at the things the nice way. Then we will, the value is invalid, come on. Okay, let's.
So is the format PDF or JPEG? Or
it's PDF. It's PDF. Yeah, it's PDF. So it is in fact vector based, but whenever you are creating the file to preview, then you are also embedding the information about the resolution per inch that should be used. But yeah, we will be using PDF. You can naturally convert it to each and every file format supported by macOS out of the box, right? So as you can see, quite a large catalog. Okay, then we will be moving our results, not to the bin, not this time. And I would like our script to reveal them. So it should essentially take each page one by one, put it to external file, so I will get each file as a separate file, and it will show it to move somewhere nice. Let's move it, let's create. Oh, I already have it. Let's confirm that this is empty. I have on my desktop this folder called stamps. It's empty, as you can see. We will be using this one. By the way, you know this proxy icon trick, that whenever you, in each and every place of the OS, you can take this proxy icon here and move it whenever you want it, and the location will be used. So I can do something like this: drag it here, put it there, and it's done. Like it works all over the OS in each and every app out there, right?
how do you grab it?
Just like this. No. Just hold it and drag it.
This icon is hidden on the newest macOS, so you must wait a little bit. It will appear.
Since Since macOS Big Sur, it's by default hidden. This is one of the most useful accessibility options that you.
This is an accessibility.
Yeah, you can switch it in accessibility. So it's visible all the time, because otherwise I would need to wait a second to reveal it and then drag it, right? While we are at this, just the one last tip, while we are at this, you probably know this also, right? Right click. You get the structure and you can move around. Okay. So we have it at the stamps. It should be fine. Let's run it. The original file here, the multi-pages file. Let's confirm it. Let's run it. Boom. Done. Okay, there is just one caveat. It's not named so nicely. I will be using it at the later part of the demo, so I would also like to include something that would be renaming this. And just to show you that you can mix and match technologies, this is like Lego bricks. Think about your Mac as a Lego bricks or a Play-Doh mass. You can connect each and every part of itself. Your imagination is the only limitation. So, first of all, some of you mentioned that you already have seen or heard or used AppleScript. So, for those of you who haven't, let's quickly run a new AppleScript editor or script editor window, and let's create our own first script. You know, the usual hello world, right? But we will use something nicer. You have seen it on the slide probably.
Can you increase the font?
Yeah. You know, we have Mac here. We will use the gesture. We will use the gesture, right? You know the gesture, the pin gesture. We don't need to use key combinations, right? So it looks like the general, well-known English language, right? Tell AppFinder to get name of every item of desktop. And you know what? And it works. And it works. By the way, just to give you some additional context, a piece of history, originally, this programming language, AppleScript, has been introduced conceptually in 1970s inside Apple, but it has been firstly implemented for the first time in the 1980s. And you know, Apple, American company, those people working on this were not the youngest, and probably you shouldn't be publicizing this, but you know, the English grammar here is one of the so-called dialects of AppleScript. Originally, there were several of them. English, French, Japanese, because they were the allies, American allies back then, Spanish, with notably missing German. I have my own theory why they didn't include German. They still remembered things in 1980s, you know. So, today, only English is still alive. All the other dialects are gone, but the English syntax and grammar is still there. And you can also use JavaScript as the other language to use open scripting architecture out of the box. Third-party projects, third-party people out there provide so-called bridges for languages like Ruby, like Python, like Swift. There was a third-party Swift language bridge for open scripting architecture. So we will be using this English-like notation of AppleScript, and you probably already get the idea. There were two design goals with AppleScript. First of all, it needs to be easy to write, to create by the general Joe Schmo. But there is also another more important factor here. It needs to be very easy to read this stuff. So even if you send a script, someone who doesn't know any better, they need to be able to read it and get the idea of what will happen to their device, right? This is a kind of built-in anti-malware protection, right? Okay, so you already see how it works, and what I want to show you is that I can add here additional building block called run AppleScript, and I can mix and match these technologies. I can also naturally run the bash script or the shell script. I can connect many different technologies via these connectors. So I will be doing this mistake, looking a bit to my helper hill, but I will try to naturally live write some code. So tell application finder. We will be, by the way, look what I will be doing here. Get every, not like this, get, come on, every, yeah, file window 1. So, what I'm doing here, I'm assigning results of these in parentheses, get every file of window 1. Window 1 is the topmost window every time on the Mac, right? By the way, window -1 is always the last one. The second, -2, and so on. You already probably get the idea how it works. By the way, since we have this English-like syntax, you can just tell it, hey, I want the last window, like write it. Exactly like this, the last window, or the first window, or the next to last, and it will use the proper index. So it's pretty nice technology. Okay, now these, as they taught us at school, right, set counter to 1, right? In my files, probably already closing one, you already see the syntax, right? This is how we change the variable type, right? And this is how we concatenate the strings. So if I didn't do any typo, probably do, yeah, with this one, right? If I didn't do any typo, come on run. Maybe let's tick. Come on, and it's even slow right now. Let's try this one. Set name, tell up finder. Oh. And tell. Let's hope it works, right? I have only half of the source here on the screenshot. Okay. Okay, let's run it. First of all, let's delete this stuff. So it will recreate it again using the previous steps, right? And now it should rename it using the AppleScript part. So let's try it out. By the way, comment R, like in the iTunes, run, or an Xcode, right? Okay, so neostamp. And we have problems. Sorry. And I didn't see workflow failed. Sorry, I was so stressed I didn't even notice what it said. Let's try again. Check what it says. The action got an error, the operation, because there is already an item. Yeah.
Is there I the name of the file or?
Sorry, the counter. Yeah. Counter to counter. Yep. Okay. As you can see, it gets really stressful here. So let's remove it. Let's run it again. Live coding, and probably with your help, right? Woo! Yeah, it works. Yay! Thank you. Okay. So now we have these neostamps, neoznaczki already prepared, and let's get back to our initial story. We need to prepare invoices. We need to take data, address data, out of the invoices, put it to something looking like this. I have our default invoice look here, right? And we will be looking into two things. First of all, three things. First of all, as you can see, this is Pages. This is Apple's free of charge Word equivalent. So back in the 90s we called it text processor, and today youngsters call it text editor, which is wrong, by the way, right? So we know this. So this is Pages. As you can see, I'm using this neoznaczek as a background image. I also have some text field that consists of this address data. And what I will be doing right now, and I won't be live coding this anymore, I have it already pre-prepared, okay? Too many points to dig the grave for yourself, right? Doing this live. So I will show you the script because it's not really that long and it's not really that complicated, except for the fact that, I'm developer myself. So I'm not the regular Joe Schmo, and you can see it here, that the syntax is no longer looking so nicely like the Joe Schmo would write it. We have some, abstraction layers like POSIX path of my desktop and so on, because being Apple trainer, you are exchanging your laptop every 2 months whenever they release a new model. So my username is always different, So we will be, just to give you the general idea, we will be going to Faktura, the invoicing app. We will be getting this data out almost manually. Look at this monster. Static text 7, static text, I will show you how to find these out later on, okay? So I will be essentially going into the app running on my Mac and physically taking out the correct info that I need. And then naturally I will be pasting it essentially to Pages with some additional trick, because as you can see I'm using old Python version. to make the city name uppercase just for the sake of it. Don't do it like this. Don't do it like this. But as you can see, you can mix and match technologies. Okay? So let's see whether it works. Let's see whether it works. On our demo screen, take a note. First of all, by the way, there is additional story here. You know, I'm not really sure whether the law in Poland has been changed, but when we were developing this initially, this example, stamps were treated from the legal point of view in Poland as an official payment method, the same way that physical money play in the legal system. If you are so as old as me, you probably remember that at your primary school you were asked to pay for something in official stamps, znaczki urzędowe, right? So there is a part of Polish legal system, at least it was in 2020 when I last checked this, that these neo stamps are treated as official payment method in Poland. So look what happens whenever you and if you read Polish post regulations, whenever you send the same post stamp 2 times because you forget that you sent it already, you are treated as someone who creates a fake stamp, a fake money payment thing in Poland. So please do not mistakes. Do not do mistakes. Do not do mistakes. It's pretty important. So a crucial part of this script was to keep a track of which stamp was used last time, not to use it again. So keep in mind 2 things that will be changing here. The post stamp number will be changing, and we will be gathering these data from the app. And this is very, very simple thing. We will be using window 1. You already met window 1. It's the frontmost window of the app, right? So we start with your German partner. The German partner was here when we opened the document, right? And as you can see, I have Polish equivalent, twój kontrahent, right? So let's run our script and see whether it will gather the data and change the stamp. Let's run it. The number of the stamp, the first one. We start with the first one, right? Okay. Twój kontrahent, and the stamp was changed to number 1. Okay, let's rerun it, okay? But first, let's change to firma A. Bogus data, sorry for this, right? I was creating this sitting right down. Right. Not enough time. So, let's run it again. Yeah, random, I know. We all have only this amount of time, right? So, as you already see, second stamp, right? It already memorized that the 1 is already gone, right? So the second one, okay, and it used it, and even used the Python to put uppercase here, right? Nice one, right? Let's go back to our German partner, so you can see that we can change it again, and let's rerun our script. So as you can see, the third stamp, right? Our German partner, again, by the way, can you identify the address? My German is not the best one. Kurfürstendamm, or something like this. Do we have German-speaking people? How do we pronounce it? Or maybe if we don't even know what's located at this address. Come on, Apple Store Berlin. Folks, come on. It's one of the largest. It's one of the largest, right? Okay. So, as you can see, we can use Automator hand in hand with AppleScript to solve your day-to-day problems. If my Joe Schmo wouldn't need to have these stamps like numbered in a different way, or could find someone, or even use ChatGPT that Oscar mentioned to prepare this AppleScript. And by the way, ChatGPT knows AppleScript quite well, as far as I know. My students are using it quite often. So, yeah. So, yeah. It works, right? We could be pasting this part here. Okay, so I'm over my time. So I will leave you with a few demos, and let's go to the Q&A, okay? First of all, we have already seen that we prepared these images here. So let's say I want to do something more sophisticated using, you know, industry standard tools. One of the most popular industry standard tools that I do not know how to use is naturally Adobe Photoshop, right? So let's do some actions with Photoshop on these files. As you can see, this will be very, very simple. We will be choosing folder, sorting the files, and then rotating, cropping, and resizing. And if you go into Photoshop so-called dictionary, you can find additional commands and how to manage them, how to summon them, and so on and so on. But just to give you demo that it works, and it's really easy, right? Let's choose. Now I'm choosing the folder, not each file. You can see different command, right? And it works. And it works, right? So it doesn't matter whether I have 5 images or 1,000 images, it works. Whenever I speak to newcomers to our platforms, the people from graphics departments, they always say, yeah, we can automate Photoshop on Windows with JavaScript and Adobe things. Yeah, you can. And you can run the same script that you do on Windows on Mac. But on Mac, you can also use Apple script or open scripting architecture and very quickly, immediately connect Photoshop to different other apps that are outside Adobe ecosystem and you cannot really use on Windows in automated way, but you can do it on the Mac. So, just to show it to you in a more sophisticated scenario a bit, we will connect 3 apps: Microsoft Excel, Adobe Photoshop, and something outside the big boys league, Transmit, one of the nicest FTP clients on the Mac. And this is, by the way, very much simplified thing that we are asked by one of our clients to prepare. The story behind it was pretty gloomy because it was a war correspondent, I believe in Iraq, that was taking the photos for us Europeans. And the story was that he didn't know whenever he will have internet connectivity, whenever he will be able to send these photos, whenever it will be saved, there will be internet connection, and so on and so on. So they needed to have very quick method for him to send the photos to the server, and then these photos needed to be auto-prepared and put immediately to the newspaper, in this case, website, in automated way. And since he was risking his life, you know, to get these photos, it would be nice to pay him immediately, right? So that he can still see that he got the money, right? So we will be preparing something like this, but first, to show you that it again works, let's recreate our photos because these are dead. So let's bring it here, spend a few seconds on exporting to have them in pristine condition. So you see that it works. So come on. We again have the slides in unaltered form, right? And now see the script. The script has a few moments. It has Photoshop in a capacity that you have already seen. It has Transmit, it will be opening the training demo example, right? So it will be connecting to the server running on the same device, SFTP server. And then we will be preparing a list in Microsoft Excel and sending each file after renaming and putting it into the Excel spreadsheet to this virtual server running here. So, as you can see, and we will get the nice notification at the end, right? So pretty simple stuff. These are comments. These will not work from different demo. So let's try to run it. I'm choosing folder if I recall correctly. Yep. So this is something, this part you have already seen. This is something to show people that you can go through the app at once, or you can mix and match and orchestrate the behavior between them. While it's running, let me remind you that I already told you that you are seeing that it runs like locally on this device, but you can be orchestrating work that is being done on different Macs over the internets. So the Photoshop might be running on one device, Excel on the other, and Transmit on the third one. So it's pretty nice. Come on, too many images for the demo, I guess. But at least me, being the talkative person I am, I have my minutes, I have my moments, right? Come on. Too many slides. And you know what would be awful? If it now crashed. So let's see. We will be seeing additional resources. By the way, you have a sneak peek on the upcoming slides, right? Come on. Usually I'm pretty, relaxed, like saying things like, work, I can be watching it all the time, right? Come on. This is the last one, I believe. Okay, and if nothing breaks, now look, we are renaming the file, we are sending it to our server, and we are preparing the invoicing sum for the company.
And this is all like automated switching the windows.
This is Apple script. This is Apple script. Yeah, you can address each and every file running on the device in many different ways. This is so-called native scripting. So I'm asking the app itself, like, hey, Microsoft Excel, in document 1, please put this information into cell 1 of worksheet 1. Or I do not need to use the concrete index 1 or 2, I can use the naming, or I can use the file name. There are many different methods to address the given object, right? But also, as you can already see, if you connect the dots in your head, I can be also using app in a more, let's say, elastic way, flexible way. If the app doesn't offer direct scripting interface, or I do not have time to learn it, because this is also this possibility every time, right? I can ask it directly. I don't care about your scripting interface. I need this data from this field in this window. Please give it to me. And by the way, do you know which part of the OS are we using, of this macOS software stack, to ask, for example, Factura to give me the data stored in this text field, in this window? What part of the accessibility? Yeah, and this is the reason why it will not die. You have probably, for a lack of a better word, seen this. But macOS and Mac and Apple platforms generally are the best platforms, the most suitable and capable, and I will use the forbidden word, the cheapest platforms for people with disabilities. Do you know what happens when you take your Mac out of the box and leave it like this on your desk?
It talks.
It starts introducing itself in different languages, because if you do not click around, you probably do not see the screen. You may be a blind person. So it will introduce itself in many different human languages by voice, and it will teach you how to use the whole environment without seeing the screen. This is pretty amazing stuff. And it's used also by the scripting part. So you can be using like this. Okay, folks, since I'm pretty hard outside my time limit, let me show you how, sorry? So let me show you maybe yeah, last Christmas maybe for me because of it, right? To end it up on this positive vibe, let's see how these technologies work in different contexts for our users, and you can be using these superpowers that you will see here by automation mechanism. By the way, some of you may have already seen this, right? These people are real examples. These are not actors. These are real cases in real life, and some of them, as far as I know, were working with Apple, so they know them, right? This is the maybe not SETI, maybe this one. This is very powerful in my opinion. So our platforms are very rich environments, and you can use the same capabilities in many different ways. For some, it empowers them in this way. For others, it can help you automate stuff. So folks, use it, okay? Do you have any questions?
Yeah, is it like your pitch for client feature requests?
Which one?
You said that this is like the small version of what your client asked you to do. So
Yeah.
you go for AppleScript.
Yeah. I told you that we are part of Apple Consultants Network, and we are also a reseller because of it. So we are not reseller per se. Mainly we are working with other resellers, but if the client comes and asks us to provide the hardware, we will do it. And today we have Monday. So no more than a week ago, because on Tuesday we were delivering to one of Polish manufacturing companies that I should not be naming probably, the most expensive Mac computers out there. So these Mac Pro rack-mounted stuff with all of the RAM, all of the storage and so on. And they bought it simply, several of them, because they wanted to automate the way the company works. And what was most amazing, most of their software stack is running on Windows. They were using Apple-provided technologies to automate Windows boxes running remotely or being virtualized on the Mac devices whenever they couldn't run the part of the software stack natively in any way. So yeah, we try to use these type of technologies as a pitch to show people what's possible, then providing them software services, consulting services, or providing the hardware itself. And by the way, this is something that you can also use to your advantage whenever you are working with your clients, right? And additionally, this is something that I know that not many clients are looking for, like in a very explicit way. But if I were, for example, to ask a software house to prepare for me a Mac app, I would naturally be asking them to make it scriptable, right? Because not everyone will do it. We were not showing this during the demo because there was no time for it. But a part of Script Editor is this dictionary previewer. You click Open Dictionary here and you see the list of dictionaries, active dictionaries. These are all apps on my Mac currently installed that use native scripting capabilities. As you could see, I can also script apps that do not provide this interface using accessibility features, right? But, and different other ways. But this is the list. So whenever we are developing something or we are asked by our clients to ask from the software house, because sometimes we also work in this capacity. We originally started as a software development company, and these days we mostly train and consult. We always at least bring this to the discussion, right? So yeah, it may be a pitch for a client, and it may be your advantage in the market. It immediately shows that you are part of this Apple story for quite a long time, because covering the possible logo here, the sad part of the discussion is that you may find many developers who have been working on these platforms for years, and they have no idea that the scripting architecture is there, right? So use it to your advantage.
So you were saying about the accessibility feature, and you were identifying the fields by field number.
Yep.
Is there an easy way to identify those fields in an app so I know
what to ask? Okay. So the question, to reiterate the question was, how do I target the concrete field in the app whenever I want to access it using so-called UI scripting techniques? So one of the most popular tools out there these days, freeware, is called UI Browser, and it uses Apple's accessibility features of the OS. It looks like this. You run the app, you choose the target for your app. Let's say I will be using Faktura, so just you can see the Faktura window. As you can see, I have the list of actively running apps. So let me choose Faktura, and it gives you all of these, accessibility related tree of objects being used in the, being present in the OS right now. I can be going like this in a graphical way, so it will be focusing on the concrete thing that I use and so on and so on. many apps, properly written apps, when it comes to accessibility support, have some meaningful description of the window so that a blind person, for example, gets the context, what's there, right? So you can have a brutal way like here, like static text number 2, and assuming that the layout of the windows is each time the same in this demo, and it is, right? You can use it like this, but you can also use the more descriptive accessibility tag to target this.
There is also accessibility inspector as part of Xcode.
That's right. Additional tool that is also used in this context is Apple's provided accessibility inspector. Many scripters use both of these tools hand in hand. Yeah. Okay.
Did you already try the shortcuts? Or?
Yeah. I know. I have only so much time here, and I have this, just to have a proof, right? Let's get back to our keynote presentation. I have a slide after the demo. I have the slide, right? So we are in the middle, covering the possible logos naturally, right? Of the record, of the CAF and so on. I didn't even mention this. It's computer-generated recording. We are in the middle of a change, and it's probably the most visible on the Mac. We are changing AppKit, all these NS and so on, right, into UIKit-based technologies with Swift UI bringing all of our children back to the flock, right? So macOS, iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, visionOS, all of it will be running Swift UI. So we are in the midst of a change, which is quite typical for Apple over the years, right? The only platform out there that survived free CPU transitioning processes, right? So we are running the 4th type of CPU on the Mac. There is not a single platform out there, except for Linux, naturally, right? That survived something like this. This is what killed Amiga, by the way, to some extent. Yeah. Okay, I will start crying. Just to sum it up, there are new things coming to the scene, like shortcuts, and taking into account that we have underneath these union coming to the Mac that will be using essentially iOS-like and things that you will see on iOS frameworks, then this will be playing larger and larger role. Yeah. But think about this like the extension of what's now, or like the new incarnation, not something that will compete against each other, because at the moment we can use all of these technologies. Right? And what I have not been explicitly mentioning in this presentation, keep in mind that macOS is a certified Unix environment. It's not a wannabe, it's a certified Unix. Apple proves it, Apple pays for it. This is certified Unix environment, which means that you have access to all of these Unixy tools. And just to mention that Windows 11 virtualized in Parallels Desktop is officially supported platform by Microsoft, recognized and supported. So you have access to Unixy stuff, Linuxy on the same page, right? Windowsy stuff and Apple native stuff from different platforms, because since we switched to Apple Silicon, it's no longer typical Mac only. It's also like iOS app running immediately on it. For example, I will give you probably some great example, but when we switch off the camera, how you can use these to your personal gain. How to use some apps taken out of the iPhone, like really taken out of the iPhone, running on the Mac. You can script them using all of these techniques. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, so there are shortcuts. Okay.
And is it possible to actually use UI scripting with some websites or stuff like this, or open browsers?
Yeah.
Because then we don't really always have accessibility.
This question always comes at some moment. Yeah. When it comes to web scripting, you are not only limited to UI scripting. Naturally, you could be using things like this. And there are, for example, third-party apps on the Mac that use graphics recognition. Like vision recognition to essentially steer anything you want, like virtually everything. But you can tap into document object model of the website that you are in and simply script it with JavaScript. There are connectors. Safari supports it. You just need to enable developer mode in Safari and go into the and scan the document model and use it. I have a demo for this. I didn't have time, but let me show it to you. It will be a quick one. You know, developers, right? The third time and I will look like Bonner, so let's stop here. Okay, so we have this nice website called, developerapple.com. So to just make sure that we were not there, we were at K7's website, k7.eu, and I have a little script here that's very simple, as all of them, that will download for me, will scrap the website and download for me the recordings of WWDC sessions, which is pretty useful sometimes, right? It's legal in Poland for my own use, personal use, right? So, okay, as you can see, I will be talking to Safari, and inside Safari, I will be going through the document model, just to give you the general idea how it looks. By the way, all of these scrolls, opening of windows, resizing of windows, and so on, switching apps, have you noticed I'm not using the mouse at all? I'm only using keyboard shortcuts, and my Mac does this, here, there, right. It's all scripting. Usually, when I'm on my Mac, I have 6 screens available on my MacBook Pro at home. So it's pretty nice to look at user that is using it like this. Something happens here, something here, and so on, like in the hacker movies. So it's possible, folks. Okay, so as you can see, I'm going through the document model, right? And let's run it. So let's, it will activate Safari. Assuming that I still have internet connectivity, it downloaded the document because we are downloading URLs, but it's also here. I should be showing this to you before. It recreated inside WWDC folder the year, the session name, and as you can see, it's changing the size, it's downloading it underneath. So yeah, you can do things like this. It's possible. As I told you, these are virtual Lego bricks. It's Play-Doh mass. You can do everything you want. The only limitation is your imagination and our protections over time. Okay, do you have any other question?
Yeah, I think so. So thanks again.
Sorry for taking so much time.